Hello everyone, and welcome back to what I like to call the Moose Lodge. This is another, well, it's kind of a tutorial. It's kind of it's not a first look, it's a look. It's not my first look, that's for sure. Kind of an overview, I guess, if you will. It's not going to be a super in-depth tutorial, but it's going to get you going. We're talking about ChasePlane. Parallel 42 was well known for this product way back in the day, for P3D and FSX, and unfortunately when Microsoft Flight Simulator came to the table, they locked out the camera API, and so we weren't able to get ChasePlane, which is basically a camera control program. So if you are used to and in love with and don't think there can be any possible improvement on the current camera system in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, then ChasePlane might not be for you. But if you were like me and really think there were a few things that the camera system, we finally got used to it. We finally learned how to use the drone camera and all that stuff. But there was always something missing. There was always something that could be improved upon. Then maybe ChasePlane might be a great thing for you, at least to check out and look at. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm not going to try and sell you on ChasePlane. I think the product speaks for itself. And if you've watched any of my live streams in 2020, I've been using it for about a month now. I think they released it to what they called Club 42. Those of us that spent at least $42 from their store, we were able to buy it. We didn't get it for free, so I want to caveat that. I've not been given a press copy or anything. I purchased the program. I've been very happy with it. There have been some bugs. There's been some shaky stuff as we have started using it, and that's why they did it that way. They offered it to a crew of their people and said, hey, you can purchase this if you want. We're still working on some stuff, and we were able to give feedback, and they've taken a lot of that feedback into consideration. We've gotten some of the things we wanted. We haven't gotten everything we wanted. We may get some more of what we wanted down the road. Who knows? But it's been really great working with the guys at Parallel 42 and seeing them go, oh, you use it that way. Oh, yeah, we can probably make that work. We can probably roll that into it. We can do that. Or this is a bug. Let's fix that. All that kind of stuff. So it's been really great working with them, and while being not paid to do it and not getting the product for free, but being able to give real-time feedback on the initial group, it's been fun to be able to do that. So what I want to do today, Parallel 42 finally released this today. This is Monday, the time of recording this, the 21st of April, and they finally released this to the general public, so anyone can buy it now. You don't have to be a member of Parallel 42's Club 42 in order to get it. Anyone has access to it now if you so choose. I think it's $30 if I'm not mistaken. This is in obviously US dollars, and it's a one-time. It's not a subscription-based thing. There's a community support to it. There's also a layer of cloud storage memory of your views. So you've got lots of things here that you're getting for $30, and I think it's well worth it, and I'm enjoying it. Now, what you've been watching while I've been talking about all this and blabbing on is the cinematic view that we get with ChasePlane, and it's configured right out of the box, so you don't have to do anything. You just activate it. So this is the Airbus Phoenix A321, the American livery, but in the US Airways retro livery for American. I have not flown this aircraft, any of the Phoenix aircraft, since getting ChasePlane. Now, it's not a strike on Phoenix. That's just, I've got a lot of airplanes. I try to move them around. Anyway, so I haven't done any setup with ChasePlane regarding this aircraft, and I've turned it on and I hit cinematic, and this is what you get. So we're parked here at gate 46 Alpha at LAX. This is AnyBuild's LAX in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Caveat, as of right now, the filming of this software, ChasePlane, does not yet work with Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. I believe the plan is to make it work with it eventually, but I don't know what the plan is on the time frame. I don't know what the pricing structure will be, if it will be a free update for those of us that bought it for 2020, if it'll be a paid update, if it will be a standalone product. I don't know. I don't know any of those things. Talk to Parallel 42 for that. But if you're looking at purchasing this today, know that it does not yet work with 2024. So if all you have is 2024, you should not purchase this. If you have both sims, like I do, then you get to the benefit of using this and the frustration of then moving to 2024 and realizing, once again, I don't have ChasePlane. So hopefully it will come sooner rather than later. We also don't have flow yet in 2024. That will come eventually as well, I'm sure, as they learn how to deal with the new sim and it gets less buggy and all those things. Okay, caveats out of the way. Here's what we're going to start with. So first, if you have flow, because this was not the most obvious thing for me. If you have flow, you'll recognize the Great Wheel. If you don't have flow for 2020, highly recommend it. Again, we don't have this yet for 2024. I hope it comes soon because I am so used to using this, and I hit tab, which is my flow command, all the time in 2024, and it pulls up a tablet somewhere. I'm like, whatever. Anyway. So, if you want to add ChasePlane to flow, here's what you do. You click on a tile. Doesn't matter if the tile has something on it already or not. I'm going to click on my ChasePlane tile. I'm just going to hold down, and it's going to bring up the wheel where we can configure. Now, you'll notice we have many different, wheel sets here. I wanted it on my main page, so I moved some stuff out of the way so I could get it. GSX and a ChasePlane now are the two that I'm going to probably the most often, aside from one of the map positions. So wherever you want to put it, it's fine. But here's where you're going to find it in Flow. You're going to scroll down to the core widgets, and you're going to look for MSFS panels. And in MSFS panels, that's where you'll find GSX. You'll find a number of other things that were included with the little upstairs tab thing for Microsoft. But eventually you will discover the Parallel 42 stuff, including ChasePlane right there. And all you got to do is drag that onto whatever tile you want to put it on whatever page you want to put it on, and presto changeo, you've got ChasePlane on your flow wheel. So that's the first thing we want to do. The next thing we want to do is look at what happens when you open it up. Now, when you first go into ChasePlane, it's going to start in tutorial mode. If you're unfamiliar with how ChasePlane works from the good old days, I highly recommend going through that entire process. You'll be better off for it. I'm not going to walk through the tutorial mode process because I'm going to assume that's what it's there for. You can do that yourself. If you just skipped over it, or if you did it and you still don't understand what's going on, that's where we're going to pick up from. So this is sans tutorial mode. You can still do it. I still recommend you do it. You can always go back and do it at any time. That's this control assignment wizard stuff here. But we're going to walk through the menus, how this works, what it looks like, how to interact with it, and how to set up some views. And then I'll let you go off and do what you will with ChasePlane and make it awesome, make it your own. All right, so the first thing you want to check when you come into ChasePlane is the preferences, and you should see your connected devices. If you're missing a device here, you want to kind of stop right there and try and figure out why it's not there. It may be replugging it in, it may be restarting the sim with it plugged in. I don't know your hardware. But if there's devices that you think it should be detecting, you want to check for those. And the basics that you're going to want to make sure it has is your mouse and keyboard, obviously, and then whatever device you have that has like hat switches and stuff. So in my case, that's a yoke and this T16000M from Thrustmaster. Those two I definitely want. I don't care that this thing sees my rudder pedals. I'm not going to do anything with ChasePlane with my rudder pedals. Bravo throttle quadrant, I might care if there were some buttons on here I wanted to assign to cameras. I don't personally, so I don't care about those, but they're there, and it sees them, and that's fine. But these two have hat switches and buttons that I might use for views, so that is what is important to me. All right. You can also go in and set up some dead zones in axes to configure things like that. I haven't messed with that, so if you feel like there's an axis you need to use to have a dead zone with, I'm not sure. Maybe if you assigned a drone camera or something to an axis of like I know the TCA yoke has two hat switches. One is a button hat switch, and the other one is an axis hat switch. I don't even use that one because the axis hat switch interferes for some reason with my standard yoke axes, and I don't want to mess with it. So if you want to do that and you need dead zone set up, that's where you can do that. All right, looking at the stuff in preferences here, which is where we're going to start. The first thing you want to do is you want to, what I'm going to suggest you do actually is not in ChasePlane. I almost forgot I wanted to talk about this. You should go into your control options. Okay, so I recommend you come into your menu here, your control options, and this is going to look different for everybody, but you might want to do this with your first aircraft just to see how it works and whatever. You may not need to do this. It may not bug you. It bugged me, and it may not be a thing that happens most of the time, because I've noticed when I went in here originally, there was a bunch of stuff that was still assigned, and I have very occasionally an issue, but not many. So you may not even have to do this, but I like to do it just to eliminate conflict. So I'm running my controls out of SPAD, so I'm not using multiple profiles for everything. I have one profile that I've used for keyboard and mouse, basically, and these guys don't even matter over here. So what I've done is I went in to save my mouse, for instance, and I removed all of the camera positions, all the camera commands for the mouse. But I did so and created its own profile called ChasePlane Mouse. That way, if something breaks with ChasePlane and I need to go back and revert, I didn't lose it all. I can just change the profile. So if you're going to do this method, make a new profile. Just copy your existing one that you're using for the aircraft you're using, or your master one, whatever it is. Save it as something like I called mine ChasePlane Mouse and ChasePlane Keyboard. So I know if I'm in there, there are like no camera controls for those things, because it's going to be handled with ChasePlane. So you can do that. You don't have to do that necessarily, but if you find things seem like they're the window is like jittery when you try to change views or something, it's probably because it's trying to call back to the API of the Microsoft default stuff, and it's conflicting with ChasePlane. So if you don't have those issues, then don't worry about it. But anyway, something to be aware of, an option you might want to take. Okay, all that being said, let's go back into ChasePlane now, and we're going to look at the preferences. So first of all, you have this cool thing. It's called the cheat sheet. This will help you determine what assignments are controlling what, and so you can determine if you have conflicts. So if you pull up the cheat sheet, it's going to open this web browser, and it's going to show you all of the things you have assigned to the various things and their controls. So you can scan through this and go, oop, I'm using that to do two different things, and I don't want to do that. So you can deal with that. So anyway, so it's a nice little way of seeing that ChasePlane control assignments cheat sheet. There's a little video here about removing sim assignments, so you can watch that and see. That's what I was kind of talking about a second ago. Again, may or may not be necessary in situations, but something to be aware of. Okay. And then you can avoid conflicts. You can see how this will take you through some steps. I'm not going to walk through that because that's why it's there. All right, so you've got a couple different things in your control assignments. You got camera movements, camera actions, ChasePlane features, and application. So let's look at camera movements first. So these are the general things for ChasePlane. These aren't assigned to any specific aircraft. These are kind of how you move about in the ChasePlane universe. These are going to take the role of what you would have some of the basic camera assignments in Microsoft. So moving laterally. So I have set mine to be able to move around using the ADWS keys. On my keyboard, you could assign these to the arrow keys if you wanted. It's a user preference. But to assign stuff, you simply go in here, and it says move camera left. Press any key or move button or move axis. So right now, if I'm going to press, let's say, the G key, it sees that. I didn't have to do anything, and I can confirm it, and it will now add G as a move left command. And let's see, did it put it somewhere? Let me just do another one. H, confirm. Okay, so I see how it has now added a G and H, which is really ridiculous. Makes no sense. But that's as simple as it is to add things. Now, if I want to get rid of those, I don't want G and I don't want H. I'm just going to delete those, and they're gone. It's really simple. All you have to do, and then if you only wanted to change the right one, you hit skip to go to the right one. And if you skip that one, that's all there is in that one, so that takes it away. So really easy to assign laterally, and then move forward and backward. Up and down, I assign to the next keys right next to them, R and F. And these are keys I was already using as my drone camera movements, so I was used to these. So if you've got something else assigned to moving your drone camera or something like that, and you want to use those, you can do that. You can use a controller. You can use something on your joystick. Whatever works best for you. I like doing that. And that's not moving the camera around. In fact, let me demonstrate something here for you. I'm going to go into the cockpit for a second. That's not just sitting in one spot and looking around. That's actually moving the camera. So I'm going to hit A right now. See how we move left? D moves us right. That's the lateral movement. Forward and backward is that movement there. We're moving that way. Up and down is moving like this. Okay, that's what these are. There's also a pitch one that you can do, which is somewhere. I'm not sure where, but that's, pitch up, pitch down, basically. So you have those options. They work inside the airplane. They work outside the airplane. So very nice. Zoom in, zoom out. Same thing. Plus, minus, zoom in, zoom out. However you want to do that. All right. Moving on down, look left and right. Now, this is where we start talking about this movement here. So look left and right. I have my hat switch assigned. You can see I've got a number of things. I have the left shift, left arrow Q for some reason. I'm not really sure what that is, actually. I need to go through and change some of my values here. So left shift, left arrow. I don't know what the Q's on there. I guess that's a separate thing. Oh yeah, so if I hold left shift and do that, there it is. I also screwed up my camera profile just now. You see that profile normal. We're going to talk about that in a second. So you can assign multiple things to do things, which is nice. So I can say I want a hat switch to do it. I want my mouse to do it. I want my keyboard to do it. All those things are options. So I have my joystick POV one left. I've got my TCA Boeing yoke POV one left. And I have these weird left shift arrow things, which I think probably were defaulted in there, and I didn't delete them. That's my guess, is where those are in there. I didn't know at the time what that was. So same thing here, up and down is this action here, and I can do that with my POV on my Boeing yoke and stuff, or I can do that with the, let's see, I've got G key there and T. Yeah, T and G, that's what I had assigned on the keyboard. So those ones are normal. Roll. C and Z is what I have set to those. That is, and now this one, I don't know if anyone ever caught this, but I think this one was backwards. Oh, nope, they did finally fix it, and I had them assigned. So they fixed it, and I didn't change the assignment. I haven't used the roll. So initially when this released, roll camera left was actually rolling it right, and vice versa. So I had to assign them backwards. So I'm going to fix that right now. So we're going to say roll left is Z, confirm, and roll right is C, confirm. And so I'm going to go back in here, though, and I'm going to say roll left, I don't want that to be C anymore. And roll right, I don't want that to be Z anymore. So that should be now correct. Whoops. And I did that while I was still in here. Trash, go away. Back. There we go. Z and C. Rolling us around the correct direction. That was a bug, and they fixed it, and I didn't realize they fixed it. Speed boost. Spacebar. So if you're moving around and you want to move faster, you hold spacebar, you move faster. It's like a turbo mode. Again, you can sign up to whatever you want. I find spacebar. You could do shift. That's a very common one in games to hold down. Spacebar I think was default, and I liked it, so I've kept it there. And then mouse look. This is to hold. So this is one that did not work right away. It only was available on the right, left, and middle mouse buttons. They expanded that to be any mouse buttons. So for me, I've got a Logitech. I've got two side buttons. And what I like to do is I like to use the top side button as the flashlight in Microsoft Flight Sim. And then I use the bottom side button as my mouse look. So when I hold that down, my mouse cursor goes away and my mouse becomes a kind of a POV look around, whatever I want to do. And so you can assign that right there. So that's called X1 on my mouse. And you can do that whatever you want. Something to be aware of in the mouse look stuff. Notice right now, this says listening to, and it shows all of these things highlighted, but the mouse is not highlighted. And I think this is a protection to keep you from having the mouse, like you move an axis and it like goes, oh, you wanted to use that? So if you want it to listen to your mouse for an assignment, you got to click that first so it's listening. And now I'm going to hit the top mouse button, and you got to hold it actually. So I'm going to click that again, and I'm going to hold it until it lights up. Out mouse X2. So be aware. I think that's a protection because mouse stuff can get really goofy because it's always moving and you're doing things and you're interacting with the menu with it. So that's what that is. And then after every time you do an assignment, it's going to deactivate again. You have to click it again. So be aware of that. That can trip you up. Okay, that's your basic camera movement assignments. Coming down, camera actions. So there's some other things you can assign or not assign if you don't want to. You can do previous view, next view if you want to go down the list of your views. Personally, I just set mine to different numbers on my keyboard, so I don't need to do that, but some people might like to scroll through them. You can always reset the camera position using left-controlled spacebar or whatever you assign it to do there. Reset camera orientation. Again, I don't have an assignment for this because that's all saved in my various views, so I don't need to worry about it, but it's options for you. Toggle internal external view. I had a key assignment to this, but then I discovered I didn't actually like the way I was treating this like it did in Microsoft's camera, and it doesn't treat it the same. So what this is the equivalent to here is if we go to your main, it's just going from external view to internal to external, whatever is like your primary view, I think, right there. And I didn't want it set like that. So I changed my stuff around. I don't use that anymore. Again, it's me getting used to things in ChasePlane versus the Microsoft stuff. So you can assign that if you want. I don't personally use it. Go to internal. I've got set to delete, so I can always go back to internal. Again, that it's just there because I'm not using it for anything else. Same thing with go to external. So this would toggle between the two. These would be buttons specifically to go to those things. And then go to world camera is the same thing. We're going to talk about the various cameras here in a little bit, so just know what those are. Quick look left. Again, these I think were defaulting, and I don't really use them, but I haven't deleted them. So if you want to do, so let's see, left control, right arrow. It's not even anywhere helpful because it takes two hands to do it. So it does a quick look to the right, a quick look to the left. But I can't use one hand to do that based on how they set it up, so there's no way I'm ever going to use that. That's not convenient at all. Slow camera profile control. This I do use. So there's a couple different profiles that you can set up for slow camera, normal camera, and fast camera. And so I'm going to demonstrate that right now. I'm going to do that by going outside. So let's do... Well, actually, I can do that in here. So if we do... Like, this is normal camera. So I'm looking around with the mouse. Normal camera. Things moving around. Okay. If I do slow mode, slow camera profile, I'm using the same key, but now I'm going super slow. Now, this can be cool if you want to do some cinematic looks in the cockpit. What's fun, though, is there's like an inertial lag. So by the time I let off the key, it kept going and slowed down to a stop. And same thing with the mouse look. And if I let go, I've let go, we're still moving, and the inertia's kind of got to go out. So it makes for a cool shot, but if you're trying to look around the cockpit and interact, it's not helpful. We can go back to normal mode, and then we go to fast mode. And now I can look around even faster, and I can travel a little bit faster now, too. So it's like holding down that space bar. And you can go in and change the speeds of what these are, of what these profiles are, and I'll show you where to do that. But you have basically these three to choose from. And so what I end up doing is I usually use the fast mode when I'm outside the aircraft. I just want to quickly go find something. And then I'll switch back to normal or even like a slow mode that I have set up for doing like a walk around, simulated walk around kind of thing. It's kind of cool. All right, so that's your camera controls. You can do that there. You can, again, assign things for next camera control, directional control speed, rotational control speed. So you can change a whole bunch of stuff on the fly that I haven't messed with yet. So toggle head tracking. So if you're going to use head tracking stuff, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't messed with it if it works with Tobii eye tracker. It's supposed to work with Track IR, which is the head tracking. I'm assuming it works with Tobii, but I haven't played with it yet. So again, depth of field, you can mess with that as well there too. All right, ChasePlane features. So this is where you assign some of the, so cinematics mode I have set to my home button. So when I trigger home, it goes to cinematics. If you hit home again, it'll go back to where you were. So it's kind of, it's a toggle. That's what it says, toggle cinematics view. Then you can change the cinematics. So I can go, so I've got page up to be the next cinematics view. So I can go to home. If I don't like that cinematic, I can go to the next view, I can go to the next view, I can go to the next view. Otherwise, there's a setting in here in preferences to tell it on cinematics every 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, to change the cinematic view automatically. So that's that. Binoculars is kind of cool. Let me go back into the home view here. So binoculars, I have it set to be, is it this multiply button? Yeah. So it gives you this kind of internal binoculars thing. So you can kind of like, hey, someone says, hey, you have the airport in sight and it's kind of far out. You can just kind of turn on your binoculars. It'll also give you heading down here. They recently fixed this. This was showing in true. It's now showing magnetic, which is much more helpful being in an aircraft, considering all of your compasses are in magnetic. So that's the binoculars toggle. And then binoculars hold, I have it set to the up arrow. If I let go of the up arrow, the binoculars go away. So the idea behind hold and toggle turns something on until you press it again. Hold, you have to hold the button the whole time. So mouse look is a hold, right? I have to hold that mouse button the whole time. The minute I let go, it stops. And so, because I don't want to have to hit it again in order to stop it. All right. Drone view, I've got set to F11, and flyby view, I've got set to end. And we'll talk about those in the air because that's when those demonstrate the best. Something to know about drone view, though. Drone view is not the same as drone in the Microsoft world. It is, and it isn't. So in Microsoft, in drone mode, you could decouple the drone from the aircraft, to follow the aircraft or not. In ChasePlane, drone view is decoupled from the aircraft by default. And I don't think there's a way to couple it to the aircraft. They have another view called chase view, and that is the drone mode but coupled to the aircraft. And that's the one I find most useful. Drone view is great if you want to, while the airplane's flying, go off and go track something else and not be dragged along the ground with it. So I don't use drone view very much anymore in ChasePlane. I use the chase view, and we'll talk about that. Go to flyby mode, go to nearest parking. The downside of the chase view is it's coupled to the aircraft menu, which means it's specific to each aircraft. So it doesn't come naturally assigned, unlike the drone view does. You have to go in and assign it. We'll show that in a second. All right. Go to nearest parking gates. You can set keys to all these things, stuff that I don't use often enough to need key assignments for, so you can have all this. Finally, application. So this is some specific things to like toggle the ChasePlane panel. You can set an assignment. I don't need that because I have it in Flow. You can enable and disable ChasePlane as a toggle if you need a key to do that. I find it's kind of clunky doing that, so I don't have... I was initially, when the mouse thing wasn't working right, I was looking at that as an option, and it was clunky, so I didn't like it, so I just kind of dealt with it. But if you need to enable ChasePlane or disable it on the fly, you can do that with control assignments. I don't even want to mess with that because, it's like I said, it's kind of clunky. All right. Control assignment wizard. You can have this. This is like part of the tutorial. It'll walk you through configuring all your stuff. If you want to do it that way, great. I don't like doing things this way. I like going through the menus and finding everything and configuring it myself. So, and then obviously the cheat sheets right there. All right, moving on down. Mouse function. So mouse look. This can be a little confusing. So choose the button you want to use for your mouse look hold. You notice there's still only 3 things here. So you can do this, but I find it's better to just do it here, which is the camera movements, which I think was the bottom one, mouse look. So just do it assign it there. You can still assign all the same ones the same way, but if you're going to use one of these buttons, you can just do it here. You can do that just by clicking on it. It makes it green, or clicking on it again, it turns it off. So, but I don't use either one of these. I had to use this one for a while. I don't like the scroll button because it's clunky and it doesn't. You have to put a lot of force into it. Scroll to zoom, if you want to use that, this is a toggle thing on off. I really, one of the things I think I suggested to them was to add an option to turn this on and off with a keybind, so that way we don't have to have scroll to zoom all the time, because what is annoying about this, when you turn this on, a lot of things that you interact with the scroll wheel, if you move away from the scroll wheel, this is the problem I have with X-Plane, is then suddenly you're zooming in the cockpit if you just miss slightly or if it gets away from you. I don't like that. So I like having the scroll to zoom option to be able to scroll real quickly with the mouse, but I don't like it all the time. And so in Microsoft, what I was able to do was make it so I had to push and hold on the scroll wheel in order for the scroll to zoom to be active. And that's what I would like to do here, but I have not yet found a way to do that with ChasePlane. So yeah. So we'll see if they add that as an option. Pause motion on interaction. So if you're interacting with instruments and avionics, it can pause some of the motion things because there is physics built into these cameras. I just turn that off because I don't really understand how that's super helpful, and I feel like it would just kill my immersion. So I didn't want to do that. And then click to Smart View. You can do special things with instruments with a Smart View instrument kind of a thing where it'll bring up like a special view. And I don't want to mess with that. I don't want it. I feel like that's just asking for trouble. So you can play around with that if you want. I'd keep it off, just personally. But that's all that is. Again, control assignments right here. There's the mouse look hold, Smart View toggle, Smart View hold. See, it has Smart View toggle. What I would like them to do is do scroll to zoom toggle. That's one of the features I would like them to add. Control profile. So this is the that speed thing I was talking about here. So you have control assignments for the various cameras, the slow profile, the normal profile, and the fast profile. So if we go over here and click on the slow profile, you can see the speed, rotation speed, position speed, zoom speed, speed boost, the fast ones, and then weight. This is where like that inertia comes into play, and you can mess with all these, and you can see what the normal versions look like, and then adjust accordingly. And you can do this for an internal profile. There's a separate one for the external profile, and a separate one for the world profile. So you can do basically 9 different speed profiles, 3 for internal, 3 for external, and 3 for world. So that's kind of cool. So that's where you do that at. Coming on down, cinematics view, you can have auto start. So if you don't touch anything in the sim, if your hands off the mouse and the yoke and all that stuff, after 5 minutes, it'll automatically go into cinematic view. So if you step away from your sim for a little while, and then it'll go to cinematic view. Especially if you're a streamer, this can be kind of cool. It can be a little jarring if you're like just wanting to keep your cockpit view and not worry about it. But you can turn this up, you can turn this down, you can turn it off. You can turn it to infinity, and it won't ever happen. Shot duration. This is how, I think 30 seconds is the maximum. Yeah. So you can have it, you can change how long it will stay in one cinematic view before it changes the camera. A minimum of 3 seconds, maximum of 30 seconds. And I had 30 seconds because I was trying to do a filming thing, and I wanted the one side to have time to mess with it before it went away. I think by default, I think it's 15 seconds. So, and again, control assignments, you can toggle some cinematic things and set those there. Camera behaviors. Enable ChasePlane controls in slew mode. So you can have ChasePlane controls working in slew, which I have turned off. I have my slew controls still turned on in the Microsoft menu. Reverse X in spot view. Reverses left and right to control directions when in a view of a spot view type. So if this is helpful, having the reverse axis, reverse Y, motion for VR, reduced motion when stationary, you can do that. Because the bug in the simulator physics can cause the camera to behave kind of weird when the aircraft are stationary on the ground. So I turn that on. Initial binocular zoom, you can change how much the binoculars zoom in, and then you can assign, and I think then you can zoom the binoculars in with the normal zoom modes, I believe. Let's see, turn off all view transitions, turn on all view transitions. For each group, those are the fade in, fade out, or just the snap view transitions. You can do that. Backup, automatic cloud backups. I don't know why you wouldn't turn this on. It'll back up to Parallel 42 servers. So you can see all things are synced. You can also export your different camera things. You can manually import from local files, which is really cool. So you have some options there. Those are things we could do with the old ChasePlane back in the P3D days. And then maintenance, this will tell you if you think the camera's doing something funny and something's not behaving right. You might come over here and just check and see if all these are green. Green means good. You're connected to the cloud services, the bridge module is working, the JS module is working, and the WASM module is working. If one of those fails, then you know something broke, and you may have to restart ChasePlane or restart the sim in order to get it to work again. All right? So there you go. Here's where you can restart the tutorials if you want to do that. You can do that. Enable, disable ChasePlane. This allows you to turn it on or off, and default and between the default camera system. And I think by doing this on, it will revert certain settings that it naturally turns off in order to conquer the API. If you don't have this on, I think it's a little more buggy when doing that. So be aware of that. You can get tips from the ChasePlane interface. I don't like stuff like that, so I do that, and minimize animations to the UI. If performance is an issue, you can do that. All right, that is the preferences section, and where I would recommend you start before you do anything else. When you go up here to the menu, you have 4 groups. You've got community groups, main, and preferences, and then obviously the current version, which is helpful. There's also a little help section here, and I think this is the tutorial. But we're going to go over here to main. We're going to look at groups and community last. So we're going to go over to main. This is what you're normally looking at with ChasePlane, and if you remember ChasePlane from P3D, this should look somewhat familiar. You have 3 categories: internal, external, and world, and then we also have the cinematics button right there. This will tell you what we're configuring this for. So this is going to configure cameras for all Phoenix A321 IAE engines. It's usually looking at the model. So it's not looking at the livery, but it is looking at the model. So if you have the 321 IAEs and the 321 CFMs, then it's going to be a separate profile for each one of those. Now, what you can do is you can, once you have created one profile, if they're not different enough, you can always go in and bring stuff in from your other thing to save you time. And you do that by going down here. You see this import, community, and create. If I go to community, it's going to bring up stuff from the community. And I can search my name and bring up all my views and then add them in that way if I wanted to. You can exclude, you can filter out things for different various options, physics and what have you. You can exclude yours or you can include yours. And then therefore it'll bring stuff in that you have. But it's also bringing in stuff from other people that have uploaded views. So you can see what other people are doing with views. Maybe you like their creativity better. Maybe you have no creativity and you want to do that. And it'll show you if you already have a view in your library. So this is, I was experimenting and making sure I knew how to add stuff. So I added this one. And so it says you already have this view in your library. So it shows you there. And as we scroll down, stuff just keeps adding because it's pulling more and more. And you notice things are colored, interestingly, because they're using different groups. So this is the group internal cabin. This is internal mounted. As we go up here, this is internal pilot and command. So different groups have different physics, different strategies for how the camera reacts to the airplane movements. And so you'll kind of get a feel for how that works. All right, so I can go browse, I can go my content, I can just look at my stuff, which it's going to show me all the airplanes that I've already set up with stuff. It shows 34. I haven't actually done anything in here yet, but because it defaults to stuff, it's showing the 34 there. All right, so let's go back to the menu. We're going to go back to main. So this is how it defaulted. I didn't put any of these in. ChasePlane looks at the individual aircraft and creates a bunch of views based on what the developer defined as some of the camera stuff, and it does its best to come up with some views on its own. So it's got a pilot view, a co-pilot view, MCDU captain, MCDU first officer, EFB captain, EFBFO, overhead panel, pedestal, FCU, main panel left, main panel center, main panel right, upper overhead, circuit breaker wall. And then we've got cabin forward, cabin window left, cabin window forward, cabin window middle, cabin window right, and then there's the one I have, this is the OK4. So you got all these views in here by default. You can use these, you can ignore them. It's up to you. But you notice the only way to navigate through them right now is by clicking on them. And we want to change that. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to mess with this pilot view, and we're going to get this set right. And so I'm going to take you through now my strategy for setting up my internal views. Because there's a couple different criteria I have. One, I want it to be the primary captain view, looking straight ahead, all that stuff. I also am a stickler for how things are zoomed. A lot of people have a much more fisheye version of stuff, and I don't find that realistic. I also don't find 100%, zoom 1-to-1 realistic either, because again, as humans, we have peripheral vision, so you got to find a kind of a happy sweet spot to where I'm not looking so far away from the panel, but I am looking somewhat close to it. So I'm going to click this again just to reset the camera, but I'm going to go in here, I'm going to hit the edit button. In the edit button, I can change the name. I can save the position, which I can't do because I haven't changed it, but as soon as I move it, now that lights up because now it's saved. Yes, don't save it, please, thank you. And then I can adjust, which is where you can do some fine-tune adjusting, which is kind of cool. Now, you don't have to use this because you can just move it with your arrow keys and move it around how you like it. But if you want to do some fine-tuning stuff, this is where you can do it here. Now, the zoom thing, this is where this is helpful because I have definitions now. See, the zoom is 0.49. I find more realistic is somewhere in the vicinity of like 0.65 to 0.7 to 0.75. Somewhere in there is generally where I like it. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to say 0.7. And I'm going to see what that looks like. And I think that might have been a little too much because I'm sitting back here and I have to look down. That's actually pretty drastic in this plane. So I'm going to do 0.65, see what that looks like. Now we're getting a little closer to home base. I can deal with that. And I might even just do 0.6. Yeah, 0.6 seems pretty good to me. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do 0.6. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go back. I'm not going to save this because what I want to do is I want to make sure I have the, whoops. I want to make sure I'm in the centered position when I do this. So I'm going to go back to adjust now. We're going to do 0.6 now that we know we like our zoom there. 0.6 right there. And then I'm going to pull the camera just down. So we're looking basically, I want to be able to see both the PFD and the ND the whole time. Save. So now, when I go to Copilot, you'll see the zoom is like that. When I go to Pilot, the zoom is like that. So now I'm going to build all of my looks off of that. Now with the Copilot, I can just do the same thing. I can go over here, I can adjust, I can say 0.6, and I can go back, and I can pull him down to where he's looking right there. That looks about right. That's a little off right there. So, and we'll do save, and there we go. So now we got our pilot and a Copilot are the same zoom level. They're about the same position, but just looking from a different seat. I like that. All right. I also want to make sure I have a key shortcut to it. So view shortcut, we just click that right there. You see it says press any key. I'm going to press 1 because my pilot position is always 1, and save assignment. And I'm going to do the same thing with Copilot. Edit, view shortcut, and I'm going to say 3 because all my Copilot shots are always 3. And the reason it's 3 is because 2 is my overhead. So it goes in order like that. That's just that's just my methodology. You can do whatever you want. So I can use that overhead view right here. And I might go in here, and I might go to adjust and see what's the zoom level. Oh, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Let's just call it 0.6. Let's just get it on the same level. And now that way the zoom won't change between the shots. I can adjust that a little bit. That's pretty good. Save, back, view shortcut 2, save assignment. Right there. So now right off the bat, I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 of my assignments already done. Now the way they did the MCDU, it's a straight down. I don't like that because I like to make it seem like I'm actually looking at it from the captain's chair. So what I like to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on the pilot. I'm going to come down here and say duplicate. And I'm going to rename this MCDU. All right. MCDU right there. Now, I'm going to go in and edit this. So we're going to adjust. It already has the right view level. We know that. I'm going to aim it like that, and then I'm going to use my look cursors to kind of go over here. So I'm at the angle I would roughly be at looking at it. I'm just close in. But I'm still at an angle like I'm sitting here in the captain's chair. I like that better. So I'm going to save that position, and I'm going to call this position 4. So now we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I like that. All right. Now, if I want to, I can delete these other cameras in here, but I'm not going to. Generally speaking, I like to save everything they've got. I'm just not going to use them because I'm never going to interact with them through this menu. I'm going to use the number keys. So I'm just going to keep going. Now, I'm going to kind of stop there on this side because the rest is just as you've seen. I can set anything. I can make a duplicate view. I can create a new view. I can say create brand new out of scratch right there. I can import some. I go for the community folder, whatever I want to do. And if I want to add one from the community, if I want to add a community one, I go to community and I can say browse. And I want to filter by views, internal. So let's say groups. Let's see here. What are my options here? How many groups are there? A lot of groups. Pilot. Okay, here we go. So we'll filter pilot group, internal. Oh, it's going to import selected groups. Okay, that's not what I want to do. I want to do views. Never mind. So you're not filtering the group at that point. You're actually choosing a group to import. We're not doing that. Any physics, we can do mounted. We can do human. We can do any theme. Oh, pilot and command. Here, this is what I was trying to do. And include mine. So here we go. So we have a whole bunch of these. So you've got some GoPro ones. If you want to preview these, you just click on this camera. So there's pilot. So that's somebody else's. That's by JetBlue Captain. See, that's kind of similar to what I did. There's the kind of GoPro one. GoPro in the cockpit. That's kind of a cool shot. Ooh, I like that one. That's really cool too. Internal piloting command. That one. So that's, see, the zoom level is crazy on this. I don't know how people fly like that. Different ones. Oh, there's Tim Dog. I know Tim Dog. All right, so you can go through and check, and then any one you want to check, you can import all of them. You can import one of them, whatever you have checked here. Then you click Import Select View. It'll bring that in. So real simple to do, and add those in. Pilot improved. What does that mean? I don't know what that was just now. Okay. Anywho, yeah, I don't know what that was. All right, let's look at the external view now. So spot view is what they'll give you by default, and this one is like the spot view in Microsoft. It's like pinned to the center of your camera, and your various things kind of zoom in on it, zoom out of it. But ultimately, it's not like a go anywhere. It's going to circle. If I hold the left key like this, it's just going to circle around the plane. There's a time and place for this, but I'm so used to using the drone camera, I don't use it like this anymore. This is something I used way back in P3D days when we didn't have the drone, and now this feels very restrictive. So I'm not going to use it. We also have other views they've given us. They've given us tail, a belly, a gear, forward fuselage, right forward fuselage. Some cinematic, kind of static cinematic shots, which is kind of cool, that don't move, but they're just external views, so you can assign those. And then this is one that I pulled in from a community to test it. That's pushback right there. So, but you can create it whatever you want. Now, what I am going to suggest you create, which doesn't exist by default, which I still don't understand why they don't do this by default, but they don't, is go to create, and we're going to go down all the way to the bottom here to, or not all the way to the bottom, to chase. I'm going to create a chase view, and I'm going to do, let's see, skip when cycling views. That's fine. More options next. Okay, view name. We're going to call this chase view, or just chase rather. And it'll give you some suggestions. I could have just done that. That would have been simple. So now it's created our camera for us, and you can see it started it in a weird position, but that's fine. So then I'm going to go ahead and bring this over to where I want it to be by default. The only downside about the chase camera compared to how it works in Microsoft with the drone is it doesn't remember where you were last. It remembers where you saved the camera at. So I'm going to call that my chase view. I'm going to save that position, and I'm going to make the shortcut key what I had assigned as the drone camera in Microsoft, which is insert. Save assignment. And so now, if I'm in the pilot view, if I go into that chase view, now I can go all over the place. And you see it's almost a little bit on the slow side for maneuvering around if you want to maneuver. And this is where I use my fast profile. And now it's a little bit faster, and I can kind of go faster and move around if I want to. But if I want to be cinematic about it, I can slow it way down, and I can do some fun things. And again, you can mess with the profile. I made this profile usable for if I'm in, if I'm doing like a walk around kind of a scenario, versus something else. So anyway, and then normal, just push back to normal. And again, it's good to have those keys on your command, so you want to make sure you assign those to something. And that's how we move around the aircraft. So, but that's how you add any cameras. It's always going to ask you when you create to create a group. And the groups are how the cameras are defined. So if we look at, say, the chase view here, if we edit this, you can see it's got kind of a general idea first, and then you can tell it whether it's got head tracking, transition durations, all that kind of stuff. Camera physics. Do you want the camera to be floaty? Do you want it to be something else, more rigid? The intensity, the touchdown effect, if you want any of that there. Motion effects, so follow aircraft orientation, environmental effects, wind movements, airflow, all that kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. And then when you create it, you're creating a whole new theme based on that. You're basically creating in chase view, but you're making your own version of it. So I've created a miscellaneous, I created a walk around as well. And this is what I use for my walk around view when I'm doing stuff like that. So I'll assign a camera to that. So what you could do is you could create two different versions of the chase view too. So you could create a chase view that's specifically for chase, and then you could create one that uses the walk around camera and have completely different physics. and speeds, and that's how you would do that. So it's kind of cool. You got a lot of different options. You have to build it, but you got a lot of different options. Stuff that we didn't have with Microsoft, which is kind of a one-size-fits-all. So there's the drone and the world camera and the flyby, which isn't going to do anything on the ground here. Tower view is again set by default. It doesn't put you in the tower per se, but it kind of puts you near the tower. So also this is third-party aircraft, third-party thing. So it's gonna. And I feel like it's kind of trying to snap to my aircraft. So I'm gonna do it again. Yep. So you can kind of look away, but then it's going to try and track your aircraft. And again, that's something you can mess with in the tower view group, or you can create your own group and assign it there. Nearest runway, it's going to show you the nearest runway. Nearest parking is my parking. This is kind of cool though, because if you go to airports, you're going to go to LAX, and you can look at their tower. But then I can also look at all the parking spots. And if I go, ooh, you know what? I want to see about moving to another parking spot. What does gate Z52 look like? Oh, it's like this. Interesting. I don't think I want to put my A321 here because that's like for a regional jet. So I don't think I want to use that. So it's just kind of cool. You can kind of go around and view the different parking spots, and it'll show you and put your camera there. So it's kind of a cool idea. You can also use that when you land to try and identify where you're going to be, or you know you're going to park here. Maybe once you start turning here, you switch to your gate view, and you can kind of steer your aircraft into its spot kind of cinematically. I mean, kind of cool. So you have some options there. Again, you can create different cameras here as you choose, and so on and so forth. All right, so those are the three categories: internal, external, and the world. I'm going to go back to the pilot view here and move around. The sim's going to load things back in. And again, you can move around using those same keys. So I'm using W, to move around and up, down, and having the pitch control. And then your mouse look also works internally and externally. So in Chase View, I can use my mouse look. This is something we couldn't do in Microsoft. So I can also walk around and look around with my mouse. I don't have to be restricted to just the keyboard commands. This is really powerful, especially if, like me, you don't have a controller, like a game controller, to use for your drone mode. I can do this with the mouse look. It's really nice and smooth. So it's a really nice option that we didn't have with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Again, this is what I love about the community, is we just keep adding on things and making the sim better and better and better. And then I can hit one and jump back into my plane, just like that. All right. And then, so we talked about community, we talked about groups. Again, I'm going to let you play with those and really dive in. There's not a whole lot to discuss other than you just have to kind of play with them and see how they're going to help you and how best to navigate around. But that is basically how this works. Cinematics, again, gives you the cinematic view. The flyby is the exact same thing. It's a flyby view built in. And you can reset it as many times as you want, and it's going to do different things. If you're taxiing, it does one thing. If you're flying, it starts you out a little farther out and lets you fly by. And it's really cool to have that flyby view in the sim. So this was just kind of a short little overview tutorial of ChasePlane. Again, it's now finally released to everybody. I highly recommend it if you're in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. I can't wait till they bring it to 2024, along with Flow, which I desperately want in 2024 as well. So Edson, if you watch this, just know I'm ready and willing, waiting with bated breath. I know why they're waiting, and I understand why they're waiting, and but it is what it is. I want it now. I'm still flying enough in 2020, though, that it's not a huge deal for me. I'm only just starting to get my feet wet into 2024. So if you have any questions about ChasePlane, obviously the Parallel 42 Discord is a great place to start. There's a lot of support there. But feel free to join my Discord, link in the description below, and you can ask questions there. I'll be happy to try and help you out as well. And if you need convincing as to why to get ChasePlane, then maybe watch some of my streams over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mustafa. Generally stream Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Every other Saturday right now we're doing American Truck Simulator, and then the other Saturdays we're in Flight Sim. But good chance to come in and see it in action, because if I'm in 2020, I'm using ChasePlane. I've been using it ever since it came out for the Club 42. Have not looked back, and no regrets. So The more and more ChasePlane continues to work on this, the better it gets. So, all right, that's going to do it for this little look, quasi-tutorial look-see at ChasePlane. Again, encourage you to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps grow the channel, and I also appreciate seeing you over on Twitch for our live streams. That's a lot of fun seeing more and more YouTube people come over and say, hey, I saw your YouTube video. I'm here. Love it. Absolutely love it. So hopefully see you over there. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone.